the Football Pod on Off the Ball in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. Hashtag the toughest.
Hello there, and you're very welcome along to episode 31 of the Football Pod. The boys are in good form. Just about, I'd say. I'd say you're very sweaty palms, lads, both Saturday and Sunday.
Nah.
Kerry, we're fine anyway. The Dubs are in trouble though, huh?
The Dubs was a slam dunk. So we called it last week. Our predictions are never wrong. 2 from 2 this week. We've talked about the Tailteann Cup later. We may have got that one wrong, but no, it was a good weekend, wasn't it? Better games than I thought they'd be. To be fair,
Unbelievable games.
Yeah.
I was telling Tommy on the phone, I did not in my stomach for the whole Kerry game, and about 2 hours after, it was just like it was just so engrossing. And the Dublin-Monaghan game as well. But obviously, I was a bit more invested in the Kerry game. But like, it was so engaging, and there was so much going on. You couldn't.
Down. I
you
nearly started
couldn't call
crying.
who was going to win it.
30 seconds in, he's got Meath in, to be fair. We should have expected that. But no, do you know, and then, we'll obviously go through both the games shortly now, but
All three
games, sorry. To be fair to Derry, we spoke a lot about them last week, their style of play and what they go after Kerry, and to be fair, they went after Kerry and they just probably ran out of gas coming down the stretch that second half. But yeah, there was definitely times during that, particularly that second half, like Kerry go 18 minutes without scoring. And you're thinking, Jesus, they're going to do this. Even though Derry were really on their last legs at that stage in the fourth quarter of the game. And the same with Monaghan, McManus rolling back the years, and 8 minutes to go of normal time, and they're level. And I must admit, I was down at a wedding. I was watching it on the great GEA Go, and I was nervous enough because the Dubs just weren't going that well. And the conditions, no, Jimmy, we obviously played a very famous game in the absolute lashings of rain in 2015. Crow Park is hard going when it's like that, isn't it? Like, you need to be absolutely spot on and precise, and Dublin weren't. So, but look, it was brilliant. There were 2 brilliant semi-finals. Tailteann Cup was very good, to be credit to Meath and their win, and it sets up an interesting 2 weeks ahead. We'll be busy, lads. We'll be busy.
James, you mentioned we will be busy. We will, and we've got our Football Pod Roadshow on the 27th in Croke Park, which is sold out. If anybody, for whatever reason, can't make it, sometimes it happens, and it's happened over the last couple of weeks. We're more than happy to facilitate a ticket swap, because I've got a wait list of about 100 people looking for tickets, and I'm not saying they're going to be as hard to get as the All-Ireland final themselves, but they're in demand, lads, for that roadshow on the 27th. We will be announcing our special guests, actually, later this week. I've been doing a bit of work today, trying to tie down some guests, so we'll be announcing who they are. Hint that we'll have more than one.
Oh.
Yeah. James, you mentioned the knot in your stomach throughout the Kerry-Derry game. Can we delve into that a little bit more? Where were you watching the game?
I was at home, in the apartment.
On your own?
With blinds down, curtains drawn, dark.
Seedy.
Nobody interrupt me here. No, but it was just... I like watching the games on my own sometimes. If I'm not at the game, I don't like any commentary on the game next to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if someone's sitting next to me and they're commenting on the ref or I should have kicked that over, don't like that interruption. So on my own,
I think we're all.
And I was engrossed in that game. And like straight away, we said Derry need a goal. First score they got was back in. It was like, oh, this is lit. And then Kerry straight back up the field for one back. And
33 seconds.
Battles all over the field. I love duels. That's what I love about games sometimes. Like Clifford, McKaigue was brilliant. I think that McKaigue probably got Clifford a year late in terms of his career. Like I think that he did as well as he could and an absolute great of the game. But I think he probably is he 34, McKaigue? Yeah. Like that battle was unbelievable.
Into the game.
Yeah. Then you had Glass and Dermot O'Connor. I thought that was fascinating. You had Foley and McGuigan. I thoroughly enjoyed that. You Paddy Clifford and McCluskey and how Paddy dropped back and McCluskey kind of ran the game for 20 minutes. There was so much going on. Then the refereeing decisions. Yeah. The refereeing decisions, we'll get into them, I'm sure. A lot of them debatable, some not so much. And then big scores at big times, black cards. It just had everything. And I know Tomas said it on Sunday game. you could argue that the better team on the day lost. I'm not sure would I go there, but you could definitely make a case for Derry winning that game and deservedly winning it if they did a couple of things different. Like the McKinless goal chance is such a moment in their history. Like if he can bury that, I think they're in the final.
But do you think I was at it? I was at the game. When he goes by, McKinless was exceptional yesterday.
Good.
Jesus, talk about a guy taking the fight to Kerry. I felt he took it in too close. I think he could have shot maybe half a second or a second or 2 steps earlier. It's a brilliant save from Shane Ryan.
Great save.
A massive save. And to be fair, credit to Orlan Lynch as well. He makes a massive save in the first half as well. Right at the beginning of the game from Gavin White. And a couple of minutes later, Gavin White gets in for the goal. But you just got the sense, the way Derry were playing, it was all action. They were coming at Kerry in waves. McCluskey was exceptional going forward. I agree. There was times Kerry were not dealing with runners in that first half. That was a massive issue. Orlan Lynch coming out the pitch and creating an overlap. Kerry were struggling with that, which is surprising because you would have expected that something like that was going to happen. The black card when Dermot O'Connor sent off, Derry win that period 5-2, and it's Rogers comes into the game because they realise we've an extra man here, and they're just going forward in waves. It was always going to be difficult for Derry to keep that going for what turned out to be an 80-minute match. And you just see they only scored 4 points in the second half. And
but the ones they left out there, Paddy, like I know their legs were gone. Yeah. We were in a group chat, myself and the boys were texting, Derry's legs are gone. That's what the kind of general consensus was. But at the same time, they had the chances. Do you know,
they didn't miss in the first half, really. They were so clinical in that first half. And just felt nearly that's so hard to sustain for the full match as well.
I think they missed 10 in the second half today.
There's a couple of misses. Connor Doherty's a miss. They hit the post with one. McGuigan kind of goes out of the game a little bit, and he's the man. He scores 3 points in the first half off Foley.
I wonder, was Shane McGuigan concussed after that?
You love a good concussion story. There was not a hope he was concussed. Sure, he got 3 points after he got the bang.
But sure, he put the ball over the bar at the end of the game. That man was concussed. Why didn't he drop it?
You can't say he was or wasn't concussed. That's blasphemy there. And you're normally giving out to us for making statements like that. I just think because the way the game was going, a goal on 51 minutes for McKinless would have been massive. Like, talk about an energy boost. And it's a brilliant save from Shane Ryan. Just on the better team. I don't know if I agree with Tomas on that one. I think Kerry's second half performance. Yeah. But the last 10, okay, they go 18 minutes without scoring, but the last 10 deserves massive credit because they were in a hole at half time. You were thinking, I agree. I was nervous for them, Jimmy. I thought the way Derry were taking the game to them was causing Kerry all sorts of problems. And they found the answers again, to be fair to them and to Jack O'Connor. The bit of impact off the bench, I'm sure touching Stephen O'Brien and his impact, I thought he was excellent. But what a game. And I'll hold my hands up. I wasn't expecting that yesterday. I'm happy to be wrong on that one.
Yeah, I think, well, I kind of said I didn't think it would be so open. I definitely didn't think Derry kicked 111 in the first half. That was absolutely phenomenal kicking. But it was from the McKinless goal chance, right? Just from being corner forward, he went around, I think he got around Stephen O'Brien around the 21. Yeah. And at that stage, he knows I'm in on goal here. And he takes a solo, right? And that solo would do him. He had enough steps in him to get, you'd actually get 6 or 7 steps out of it in front of goal there off the ref. Do you know, like, he's not going to blow you for overcarrying after 4 steps. So he takes the solo, but straight after he takes the solo, he takes a hop. And I know from training with Shane Ryan and other top goalies, right, once you put the head down to take a play, they start moving forward at you. So Shane leaves his goal line as McKinless puts his head down to take the hop. And next thing, when McKinless collects the ball from the hop and looks up, Shane Ryan is on him. And he is a giant in that situation. Yeah. He makes himself so big. And he doesn't make a big, hard dive. He just gets big. It's almost kind of Schmeichel style. Yeah. He just he put himself out there and he go, I bet you're going to hit some limb anyway. And sure enough, he hit his hand. But I think if McKinless had just taken the solo and kept his head up, Shane would have had to stay back on his line and he'd have been able to just slot it home. I think. So it was great goalkeeping, but I think that hop just cost McKinless a second or two.
It looked like that at the time in the stadium because you're kind of thinking he could actually take a point outside before he actually goes by the man. Yeah, and once he goes by, you're thinking, no, you're on here. And it's just, it looked always brought it in a little bit too close, and you're right, Ryan is out so quickly. And that's the thing, and goalkeepers will tell you, you can nearly catch them off guard by taking it early. Like, they're not set. They don't have that time. A very famous one, and the last goal that this man has conceded many moons ago, Spallan's goal against Clucko in the 2019 final. That's an early goal. That looked odd as well. It was a brilliant goal, but he took it so early. Clucko, you're not set.
Side left leg, yeah.
Yeah, and you just weren't set. It was a brilliant finish, but that half a second, and it's funny because the day we were in the press box looking at it, and just got a sense, he's gone too close now. Look, if it goes in, obviously it's incredible, but it does. I agree with you. Just give Shane Ryan that half a second to make himself big, and that turns out to be a massive play, because Derry were struggling for scores. You could see it, and a goal like that, talk about an energy boost.
Wow. I'd also mention just there, when McKinless burns O'Brien, Diarmuid O'Connor is in the middle of the large D beside Conor Glass, and he chases that ball, and once O'Connor gets through, he nearly gets a block on it. O'Connor absolutely just getting back. It's nearly like Conor Fogarty's block for Kilkenny in the hurling the last day, just managing to make it back. That had to have had an impact as well.
Getting in the eye line even,
getting in the way, and just we saw some of that on both sides. The kind of desperate chasing back and defending was. Look at Kieran Meena said it afterwards. He felt sick. He felt that they got everything right, and he couldn't make sense of how they didn't manage to get over the line. I think did Derry chase goals a little earlier, or is that just the way Derry played?
I don't think so.
In the second half. In the second half.
I think that their chances were on.
Okay.
The first, they had a goal chance before they got the goal.
They caught Graham O'Sullivan. Yeah.
Yeah. So the goal chances were on, and I think that it was important for their whole game plan to go for the jugular and go for the goal and get them and put Kerry under pressure. Even the fact they got the goal early would have rattled Kerry to the core. And it was the one thing we said, don't concede goals after getting one. It was the point chances they missed cost them. The one that stands out in my mind is Ethan Doherty's one, where he does unbelievable in the 10 slot.
Yeah,
takes him on, beats his man, and he kind of kicks it with his heel a bit and kind of cuts it across. Whereas if he just... And McGuigan kicked a very similar score from a tighter angle in the first half with his left. Do you remember? It was
Doherty
like the wrong side.
Great score. It was a great score.
Yeah, but Doherty just doesn't get it right. And it was kind of like thank God for that.
That would have put Derry 3 points clear. Derry 3 points clear in the 61st minute. After that...
but also, Tommy, it was in that period where Kerry couldn't score.
Yeah.
And that's when I was really, from a Kerry's perspective, I would have been worried there. Graham O'Sullivan has a mad shot. Just totally, that is just totally the wrong thing to do. Again. It's so rare, you see, at that level.
He got a spanking in the dressing room.
But it was just dude, what has happened there? And then Tony Brosnan misses one as well, and you're just thinking, this is a series of plays which is going to cost them. Yeah. And that Doherty point, or the Doherty miss would have put Derry 3 up. And even though they're struggling for scores, Kerry were really malfunctioning at the other end. And you see how quickly they turn it around. The couple of frees, and look, there were some soft ones there. A couple of refereeing decisions, I'm sure we'll chat about them now. I don't like going in big on the ref side of things, but there was just, in a game that tight, and we said it, and the same in the other semi-final on Saturday night, this level, at this stage of the championship, the games come down to the smallest margins. And it's going to be the same in 2 weeks' time, on the 30th of July. That game is going to go to the wire, and just one kick, you miscue a kick and it goes wide, or you nail an unbelievable score, that can be the swing of momentum. And for Derry, I agree with Kieran Meena. I thought they did so much right yesterday. So, and you know what, I said this yesterday, I think they'd have massive regrets with how they lost to Galway in last year's All-Ireland semi-final, that they didn't really fire a shot in that game.
They'd run just pull back. If they hadn't probably out the field, it would have been a big difference. Maybe.
It doesn't make it any easier for Derry today. They were going up there to win the game, as he said it. But I think they could be very proud. And this is not being a bloody condescending or any way like that. It was an exceptional performance by them, and they left it all out there. I mean, they were bodies strewn at the last. There was a very great photo of Chrissy McKaigue and David Clifford in injury time. The two boys are literally holding each other up down the other end of the pitch. It was just such an intense game, and Derry played a massive part in it. And they'll just think, a couple of those moments, if they go their way, it could have been an unbelievable victory for them, because it was there. It was right there for them. Yeah.
Mina's interview when he goes, it was there for the taking. It was there for the taking. All we had to do was grab it, and they just missed the chances. But on Kerry, before you jump in there, Tom, on Kerry, right, I think their game management, and we've always come back to game management teams, I think Kerry's was poor in terms of when they went 3 up, right?
Oh, Jesus. They were
an injury time,
But like, don't give Derry another chance. Do you know what I mean? Just
gave them 2 chances. Have another go, lads. Have another go.
They did, and because Tony comes on and hits the post with a shot, and then he has another chance where I think the keeper just grabs it under the crossbar, and then Cliffy drops a pass a bit long and gives it back to Oran Lynch. So they invited Derry back onto them 2 or 3 times, and the ref at that stage he might give them a free, or if you prick around like that and give the ball back to the team, you're asking for trouble. So that'll be something that Kerry can definitely improve on.
Yeah. That game management, I have 2 things I want to pick up on here, right? Derry and Monaghan, and the credit they're going to get for their performances is one thing. But both of these games hinged on 2 very short periods after the 68th minute. Conor McManus makes it 12 apiece in 61 minutes. Cluxton kicks it out to McCaffrey. Leads to a brilliant Fenton score. The next 15 seconds after that is key. And we'll come back to that later. How the Dubs squeeze and they turn over O'Hanlon. They win the free off O'Hanlon and Mannion points. Suddenly the Dubs stretch their gap to 3 points. Kerry, from the 65th minute, so 65-40, and we might come back to the refereeing decisions in a moment. From 65-40 to 69 minutes on the clock, Kerry kicked 4 points. They went from 2 points down to 2 points up. Are Kerry and Dublin timing it to save that squeeze for then? Or is it just taking their chance when it comes?
I don't think that Kerry timed a squeeze in that situation, but I think that the chances arose for Kerry, and they were clinical, and they were ruthless. But you have to be. Even if they had missed one of those chances, it would have given Derry more life, and it would have been a drain for Kerry. Like, every score in that situation is so important. Did you see Stephen O'Brien's reaction when he kicks that fantastic point off the left? Right,
straight to Thomas Sullivan.
He skips up. He does a double high five. He knows that was a massive moment that I've just provided there. Like, he had euphoria going through his body at that stage, as did probably every Kerry player, because now we've clipped in front. If you change that and he clips the post and it goes wide, he goes, oh. And Derry go, yes, thank God, come on, we're back. We're left off the hook, let's go. Like, those moments late in games are like 10 times more important. And to get those scores late in games are incredibly crucial.
Yeah, I'd agree, Jimmy, from Dublin's perspective on Saturday night, and it was just, you just get the sense, it's not a case of they're just saying, we're not going to do this until the 64th minute. That's not how it works. It's just, they've been in that situation. This is where experience comes in, and the same on Kerry's side. You just get a sense that this is it. It's all on the line at that point. And the energy you get, like I've spoke at length about, and it's clearly obvious how important kickouts are in modern Gaelic football, and Dublin are masters of it. It was such a cornerstone of our success, going after opposing kickouts, and the whole stadium gets a sense there's something on here.
It's coming,
and everyone just steps forward, nearly subconsciously. They step forward 3 or 4 yards, and this is with begging and goal on Saturday night, and you get one steal. And I couldn't agree with you more, Jimmy. You find energy from, you never knew you had it. You think you're knackered. You think you're out of the game. And this is particularly in Croke Park, a full house. The atmosphere, even though there was less than 50,000 in that semi-final yesterday, when Kerry were getting turnovers, the roar, the noise out of it, everyone sees that this is it. This is the game on the line right here. And it just gives you a boost. And I've played in that situation, and it's like, I'm ready for anything here. I'm ready to go, and it's 70 minutes on the clock. But and that for Dublin on Saturday night, it was that play. There's a brilliant score. Conor Costello gets Dublin got a length of the pitch. It's McCarthy, Kilkenny. I can't remember the Monaghan player. Turn them over inside their own 13.
Desi Ward.
And 10 seconds later, back up the pitch. An unbelievable score. And you're thinking, where's the energy coming from? But it's just, you get a sense as a team, a big play happens, and you make it count. And it's not we look at the clock, there's 64 minutes gone, now we're going to try even harder. It's just, you look at each other and this is it. And those two teams, Kerry and Dublin, have been in that situation so many times, and it was the same. Oran Lynch is looking up and he's got loads of short kickouts off, but in that couple of minutes there's nothing on. Kerry are all over Derry, and he has to go long, and the boys are breaking it, and it's oversimplified. The winning and losing the game. This is the moment, and what we're going to see it in 2 weeks' time. Both these teams are going to go for it. I'm excited. I'm excited already.
Very excited.
There were big plays. There were big moments in both semi-finals.
Begum was flawless in that game, and it was telling that the Dubs turned him over 3 times.
Until he wasn't, Tommy. He was flawless until he wasn't.
Exactly. Twice. 2 of those 3 were between the 61st and the 64th minute when the Dubs put the squeeze on. Same with Oran Lynch, had an unbelievable influence on the game. Lost 2 kickouts in that key period. James,
he loves a shot, Oran Lynch. He must have. Johnny's going down the left and he cuts back on the right. And the whole stadium knows what he's going to do. He got knocked down about 3 times doing it. Yeah. He kept trying it.
He got a great score. A bounce over the bar is always great to see.
Yeah.
Meath 96, Tommy. Meath 96.
Yeah, Colin Coyle. Yeah, exactly. So, blinds are down. Kerry are a point up.
This is a horrible scene you're setting here, Tommy. It's very creepy, like.
68:45 on the clock. Jack Barry breaks Lynch's kick out. It lands in David Clifford's hands.
Oh, yes.
And his hand pass goes astray. Can you just recreate that moment in your sitting room?
Wow.
No, that was a massive moment. That was a huge moment. Clifford gets it, and whatever way it just slips out of his hand, he gets a bad connection on the hand pass, and it drops into the ball.
I think McQuillan gets in the way, but anyways, go on.
Probably. Look, we'll give Clifford the out. The ref.
It's Joe's fault. Everything was
Joe's in his eye line there, and but it falls to Roger. Of all fellas, don't give the ball to Rogers because he'll carry it 30 or 40 yards. And for Shawnee Shea at that stage to turn him over, now you could argue was it a free or not, but the fact Clifford put his hands on his head. And Shawnee got in and he got that tackle in. He bailed his buddy out in that situation. He goes, I have you. I'm making that tackle. And they got the ball back. Lands into Clifford's hands. Clifford off he goes, taps it over, gets applauded for the score. When, realistically, that was Shawnee Shea just doing unbelievable graft. That he's probably not getting the credit for. He's playing a role. Because Clifford's who Clifford is and can do what he can do. He probably doesn't need to be chipping as many scores. He's doing a lot bigger job, I would argue.
Let's talk about this, right? Because sitting there at half-time, Derry 3 points up. Clifford is having another worldie, right? Clifford had a worldie against the Dubs in 2019. It wasn't enough. He had an unbelievable game against Tyrone in 2021. It wasn't enough. It felt like that again. Paul Ganey hadn't got a shot off. Shawnee O'Shea hadn't got a shot off. Paddy Clifford had kicked the point, but Conor McCluskey was having a massive influence. You were thinking, looking on, Kerry needed to do something different here. And those lads needed to stand up. Now, Shawnee O'Shea, what was it, James? Did Shawnee O'Shea wake up in the second half? Or am I being unfair there? Or was the introduction of Stephen O'Brien, did that change something?
I think that Shawnee is an unbelievable leader in that dressing room. I think he's probably the main kind of, in terms of leading by example through attitude, he's kind of like, I wouldn't go as far as saying a James McCarthy, but in terms of that style of leadership, like, he wants to get the work in. He wants to work hard and tackle and do all the important things for his team. Like, he wants to show that leadership. So I think at halftime he probably did have a minute to himself and say, I need to up it. And he came out, got in those tackles, chipped 3 points in play. So I think he definitely came out in the second half with a different attitude. Whether Stephen O'Brien, who Stephen is, or Shawnee is going out with Steve-O's sister.
Oh, here we go.
So there's a family connection there. So they're definitely close. But even having that relationship on the same line of the field there, it might take a little bit of pressure off him in terms of Steve-O plays higher up the field, might need a bit of marking rather than maybe more defensive half forward covering your space. But I think I the way that Shawnee sometimes is portrayed as he's an out-and-out scorer and nothing else. And if he doesn't score those 4 points from play, he's not playing well. I think that that's not the case with him. Maybe when he was younger that was. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think he's more of a grafting, hard-working, free-taking scorer, a team player. Do you know, he has more strings to his bow than just the point kicking.
And what about the first half then with Shawnee O'Shea? Because Padraig McGuigan was tasked to man-mark him. McGuigan goes off after that unfortunate collision when Foley went to block him and takes his legs out. So McGuigan goes off. Conor Doherty is then on Shawnee O'Shea. So there's a second man in is on O'Shea. Derry reshuffle their defence. Okay, he sets up the goal for Gavin White. Gainey's involved in the goal as well. Like, is there not a criticism to be had there that the other Kerry forwards were too quiet when David Clifford was shooting the lights out?
Yeah, there probably is. I mean, look,
were you worried?
Kerry kicked 117 in the end, which is probably a target. They got to 20. They kicked their 117, right? But I would say that sometimes when one forward is absolutely shooting the lights out, or is as influential as Clifford was the last day, so maybe it can creep into fellas to maybe take a back seat at times. Like, you kind of have two options.
Jimmy, that's a criticism I have of that Kerry attack. And I've said this before. When you have someone who's as genius as Clifford is, and he is unbelievable, it's nearly subconsciously players are just thinking, oh, he's got this. He's all right.
Yeah.
But there's no two ways about it. Sean O'Shea was not impacting that game. Conor Doherty was doing a brilliant job on him. McCluskey, okay, Paddy Clifford gets the point on his left foot, but Conor McCluskey was winning that battle as well. And the same McGuigan, okay, a couple of nice moves, but he's corner forward. Gainey's a shooter. Like, he was not impacting the game. And the big turnaround, I thought Stephen O'Brien was massive in the impact he brought. It was the intensity he played at. He gets a diving block. He gets a turnover. It was just an energy in his play. And what Stephen O'Brien brings is, like we said, guys coming off the bench, you need pace. Just go at them. Make an impact. Make those defenders uncomfortable. And that's what Stephen O'Brien does. He's a bad miss before he gets that brilliant score towards the end. But it was nearly like a spark that lit the flame in that Kerry attack. And all of a sudden, Derry being asked more questions. They're getting a little bit more tired. And then Sean, he starts standing up. And he kicks 3 points from play. He misses a free, which is good. Okay, it's a 50-yard free. But for him, you think he hits the post with it. But he starts impacting the game more. And it takes the burden off Clifford, and that's the danger for Kerry going into 2 weeks' time. You can nearly guarantee Clifford's going to score 6 or 7 points from play, no matter what Dublin do. He's like we said this. Never seen anyone like this guy. But for them to win the whole thing, they need more from that forward unit. And the call, does Jacko go? We go with Stephen O'Brien from the start, or they say he's got that energy off the bench. There's big calls there to be made, but I think there's so many times I've seen Kerry, not just this season but previous years, where Clifford is going gangbusters, and there's a sense that the guys are really just standing back waiting for him. And Kerry need more than that. Kerry need more than that against Dublin in this final.
I got that sense, but I'd be. Does that really happen? Like, is it like, Paddy? Has it ever happened to you when, say, Connolly is shooting the lights out or Brogan shooting the lights out, that you're like, we just have to give him this. We need to get the ball to him. Like, is that?
I agree with getting the ball to someone. Like, you see someone who's hot, you target that, you try and milk that as much as you can. But Kerry weren't even doing that. The guys weren't impacting the game at all. I don't care if Sean O'Shea is providing 4 or 5 assists to Clifford and he's linking the play. He wasn't really in the game at all.
Yeah.
So it's a case of, and this is the point I made with Clifford in the Tyrone match. Even though he had a bad day in front of the post, he was still getting on so many possessions and causing havoc in the Tyrone attack. Whereas I don't think Paddy Clifford or Gainey or Sean O'Shea were doing that in the first half at all. So it's not all about scores. I agree with you. And particularly for Sean O'Shea, he's playing further out the pitch, but he wasn't getting on the ball at all. You know, and that's a problem.
Like Kerry kicked 1-8 in the first half, right? With little ball. Derry dominated the first half. Derry were outstanding, and Kerry they managed to kick 1-8, which is excellent kicking at the same time. Do you know,
Cliff managed to do it.
Clifford managed to do it. Do you know what the best score was for me? Was his second point when Paddy does an outside the left down the line to Cusack, I'd say, and Clifford collects it at pace in just as it bounces in a tumble. It takes a standing solo, moves on to the left and slots it over. And McKaigue must have been like, this freak. Do you know, I saw that. It was so fucking good. Honestly, it was just such a good score. I actually retweeted the thing. It was very funny. Do you know when your woman was kicked off the plane? For going,
about a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
She goes, I don't care about you, but that motherfucker is not real. Did you not see that video?
No.
It cuts to just Clifford. It says to Costa Clifford standing there. You've seen that video of your woman being kicked off the plane.
I'll put it up. Yeah.
I think I muted you once the game was over.
He was I thought that was just a phenomenal score because the collection was enough. Even if he gathered that and dished it off, you go, whoa, that was class. dished it off
like,
and swung it over. Phenomenal.
So good.
Like we
So
talk
good.
about his solo dummies and his bounce dummies, but he hops, he dummies he just bounces in the air and just like he stands them up. It's just it's unbelievable.
But the key, just on that as well, because that was a brilliant score, and then McGuigan does not something similar, but we said we teed up the two lads to be top of the pops yesterday after, by their standards, relatively quiet quarterfinals. I think we've seen that. Shane McGuigan was exceptional in that first half on Jason Foley. You mentioned his first point, Jimmy, over towards the Cusack stand side on his left foot. But he gets a hand pass to score after this, and it's out actually towards the Hogan stand side, and he just squares up Foley straight away and just goes at him. It's like he's not going on the loop. He's just so direct, and he nearly just, it takes Foley by surprise. He's by him so quickly. Yeah. And Clifford's the same. It's like the second he has the ball in his hands, he's just turning and facing you up straight away. He's not giving you a moment's peace. And we see so many forwards, and I like to be guilty of this. You're coming around on the loop, and the defenders kind of come. You're giving them time to get set. But I thought at stages, Clifford and McGuigan yesterday, it was like the second they had it, they were going at you straight away. And the two boys struggled, Foley and McKaigue, and they're two of the best in the business at it. But I just thought it was brilliant that they were two key. We teed it up battles. It was brilliant to see guys at the top of the game doing that in such a big game. But yeah, I agree. I think that the score today, that Clifford one down the line was
unreal. But you know what you said about standing a fella up, and that's very interesting. It's like a basketball thing. Do you know, if you can stand the defender up and they're looking at you with their two legs planted, they're in serious trouble, because they can't then turn fast enough when you go one way. It's only when a defender's in a staggered stance that he can kind of defend you taking them on. As soon as they flatten up, and Clifford's unbelievable at getting the defender flat. McGuigan did it as well on Foley, but they're by you. And Clifford doesn't even need to have balance to swing the points. Neither does McGuigan. They're just swinging points off balance.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
But I think we should touch on the refereeing decisions, just because I think that it was.
Are you going after the umpires as well, or just the ref today?
I'm not going after the ref at all. I never do. I don't even know the referees' names. There's only one ref I know, and that's only from taking the mick. That's only from taking the piss. Honestly, I don't even know the local referees. They never affect
I struggle to believe that, but carry on.
Joe McQuillan was a referee. What did you
Joe
have an issue
McQuillan,
with?
Cavan man, I believe, is he?
He does have a certain nickname. Dublin Joe.
No,
what's the problem?
Come on, this is blasphemy. Carry on.
No, I'm not saying there was a problem, but I do know from the Twitter chat that it was brought up that maybe the ref did favour carrying some decisions. Like or say that McGuigan was targeted. First we'll go
let's get into that, right? Because I saw this a couple of times. A former colleague of mine, Ronan Mullen, at Ronan Reigns on Twitter, if an Ulster team targeted a player like Kerry have with McGuigan today, there would be a prime time investigation. Now, I was watching on TV. James was watching on TV. Paddy, did we miss something? Like, was that not just opposition's best player getting a bit of I didn't even feel there was special treatment there. He went man on man with Foley. McGuigan gets involved in everything. He's going for every ball. He's there when Shane Ryan's hip, I think, was a foul, but it was an accidental collision. David Clifford.
I have a take on that.
Okay, let's get
I agree. At the time, you're looking at it. It's a kind of ropey pass, and you know you're going in for it. And McGuigan has to kind of stop. Shane Ryan has all the momentum coming in. There's a replay of it, and you've seen this. And Shane Ryan is kind of looking at him, and he throws the arse out. He does. Yeah. And at the time, I was thinking, no way, that's legit. I think that was questionable. I have to say. Looking at the replay, and look, Joe doesn't have the replay. That's fair enough. The other one I thought was soft was Stephen O'Brien's one. And I think it's such a big play. He's kind of nearly falling, and he's not diving or anything like that, but he's falling as it's going through. Derry get the block and they're coming out with the ball. Then it's in that period of this. The game is on the line, and if you're Derry, you are definitely looking at that going. But then on the other side, and again, I got this one wrong at the time. Clifford's hit on McGuigan looked bad at the time. And Clifford's a big man, and McGuigan, that's not a target of McGuigan, he's just coming around at pace, and Clifford is there. Yeah. It's actually shoulder to shoulder. It's a massive hit, and Clifford gets booked. There you get a score off that free. So there's a couple of plays, But lads, this is in defence of refs, and I'm not normally on that side of things, but I would have agreed with those calls at the time, but then we've looked at 2 or 3 replays of it at times. So I don't like going in and saying the ref or Kerry were targeting McGuigan. Get out of it. Don't be
I don't think Kerry were targeting McGuigan. I didn't think
But
that.
for the McGuigan ones, Tom. Go on, Tom. Sorry, go on. Continue.
No, but like David Clifford gets targeted by the best man marker in the country, and Christy McKaigue. I'm sure Christy McKaigue had the paws on Clifford for much of that time.
Of course he did. He was doing that thriller marking again with the hip.
We were watching it, and it was phenomenal stuff. The ref actually gives one against Clifford in the first half, and I was like, how is he giving that?
Yeah.
The boys were bear hugging each other for the whole thing. You'd have loved it, Jimmy.
It's the only way.
You could see it off screen. But
the McGuigan thing, right?
Through Shane Ryan score and McGuigan. What's your take on it? Both of you. Do you not agree?
At the time, I flip flopped on this. To be fair, so it must be so hard to be a ref. Jeez, I actually
he throws the arse out, Jimmy.
He does throw the arse out. But can you throw the arse out? If you throw a leg out, I'd say, oh, you can't be doing that. Can you throw the arse out though? The arse is fairly soft.
Hold on a second. Shane Ryan, the arse is not soft.
My arse is rock hard, Jimmy.
With your bike row ski.
Squats, baby.
It's this simple, all right? Head high challenges, like he nails him in the fucking head, like. And I know
it's not a challenge because he has the ball. Is the argument again? I'm 50-50 on this. He catches the ball, so he's in control of it.
He wins the ball in the air and he moves towards McGuigan.
Yeah, he does.
He moves towards McGuigan. Like it's not. You're no longer protecting yourself. Like you can put your knee up in the air, whatever you want, but like. He makes contact with McGuigan. I don't think it was a yellow card. I don't think anything like that. But I think it's a free. And it's an unbelievable score from Ryan. It's a
brilliant score.
That could have been 50-50, I would say, but a hard call to give. But the other McGuigan ones, can I just come in there? Because I know that did say that McGuigan was going to, or was be targeted. Of course he would be, because he's a phenomenal player. Target, hammer to hammer is the term. Get at McGuigan. He's brilliant. But the Jack Barry one where he was booked, that was soft.
Well, it's a hand to the face, like.
It was a hand to the belly, was it? There was no face.
It was a loose hand, anyway.
A loose hand, exactly. Like a soft arse. Same thing, right?
Soft arse.
So, and then the Clifford one was a good hit. Okay. So now we're only down to one. Is it just the Shane Ryan one? Was that the only other incident?
No, Stephen O'Brien getting that free was soft.
No, but I mean in terms of McGuigan getting
McGuigan,
pension.
sorry, yeah.
I think that was the only one. I agree the Stephen O'Brien free was I wouldn't have given a free for that straight out. I thought that was very soft.
And you wouldn't have given a free to David Clifford when he burns McKaigue and turns back and gives the ball back to Burns and Burns puts it wide. The next
very 50-50, if not 70-30 against for me. I probably wouldn't have given a free there either. But Kerry would have got the score. Burns would have chipped it over there.
He didn't. He put it wide.
Did he? Though?
I watched it back. He put it bloody wide.
I think it was over the black spot.
If I was there, I'd rather have Micheál Burns shooting than the Cliff. Put it that way.
Yeah. I do have a thing where when someone gets a free that close to goal, because it's a guaranteed score, I think it needs to be obvious, like so obvious. Like you can't give a soft free there because it's a tap over point. It's a big punishment to give a debatable free. I think you have to be certain.
Okay, all right. So look, next Monday on the
Kerry got that one last year in the final. John Daly.
What was that? Was that overcarrying or was it off the ground?
Pushing them off.
It was overcarrying.
So Kerry have previous in All-Ireland finals of getting cheap frees. Like.
Oh, it started already.
I have no idea. Who's got a ref to final, lads?
It could be Goff, lads. The best in the business. David Goff.
Is it Goff? I think it's not Herson that. Is Herson not deemed the best ref? No?
You don't get... Herson's brilliant. You don't get...
Herson had two dodgy calls on the Saturday as well.
You don't get so Goff didn't do either semi, so Goff's now.
That's my reading of it anyway. I think Conor Lane a couple of years ago did a semi-final and a replay, but I don't think you're down. Yeah. I don't think you'll get a final if you've done a semi-final.
I'd like Goff because Goff owes us one.
Oh, look at this. This is pressurising. Jose Mourinho's after coming on here. Like, get out.
Jose O'Donoghue.
Are we going to talk about the Dubs at all now? We'll just keep talking.
I think we're going to take a break. I think we're going to take a break now and come back to talk about the Titans of Leinster.
Before we take a break, can I just say something? This is on a more serious note. I put a tweet about it. There's a very good friend of mine, an old club mate of mine, is undertaking a cycle from the Laura Lynn Foundation, the hospice there place in Leopardstown, down to Mallow in County Cork. It's three weekends from now, the 11th and 12th of August. and it's to raise funds for the new service centre in Mallow for the Laura Lynn Foundation. So an unbelievable charity, very difficult thing for families if anyone ever has to deal with that. And this old teammate of mine, it's a charity very close to his own heart and his wife Amy. So it's an unbelievable cause, and any support would be massively appreciated. I'll put up a link, and I'm sure we will with the football pod as well, and we'll mention it for the next couple of weeks. So any support for an unbelievable charity, and given that it got a dig out, will be greatly appreciated. I know we've loads of listeners on this show, and anyone at the road show can give us a dig out. Be much appreciated. So just wanted to get that in there before we get into more nonsense after the break.
100%, Paddy. So that's if I'll certainly tweet it from the Football Pod page and put it up on Instagram. But if you search for the Gift of Grace fundraiser, it'll come up as well. So that's on August 11th. So yeah, perfect. Okay, so we'll put that out as well, and a great cause. We are going to come back after the break on episode 31 of the Football Pod, season 3, with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue, talking about Dublin-Monaghan and how close Monaghan pushed Dublin, and also the Tailteann Cup Final. Next week on the pod, we'll be looking a little closer at Dublin and Kerry. Should be a pretty decent All-Ireland final. And we'll also be building up to our road show. We'll be announcing our special guests later this week, so stay tuned to the Football Pod social media pages. The Football Pod is brought to you every week by AIB, proud sponsors of the Senior Football Championship. Check out hashtag the toughest for more. We're going to be back right after this, talking Dublin-Monaghan. Hello there, and you're very welcome back to episode 31 of the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. We have spoken in depth about Derry Kerry. Dublin-Monaghan. Conor McManus kicks the equaliser in the 68th minute, James. How were you feeling at that stage? Did you think Monaghan could go on and do
it? I did certainly think that. It was 100% up in the air.
Did you?
I did, because I was expecting Dublin's third quarter to come out and do the job, and Monaghan were able to kind of keep that tide down and stop it from coming. And they had a grip on the game. Nothing suggested at that stage that Dublin were going to finish the way they did, and it was so bloody impressive the way Dublin did finish. But at that stage, I thought with McCarron on the field, with Maz on the field, there was another 3 or 4 points in Monaghan. I just thought that they could have done something. But, as we said about the last game, those big plays in the big minutes of big matches are so key, and Dublin just won them. Like the thing that you shared, Tommy, about those few minutes where Dublin just won those, and it won the game for them. But I must say, Monaghan, and they were so good. They did everything right. Matched up, went out, chest out. We're going to match Dublin here. Everything we wanted from them. They didn't sit back and absorb pressure and try to hit them on the counter-attack. They went man for man at it. Kicking the ball, kicking great scores, taking on their men. I thought it was a brilliant display. But in the end, Dublin's experience, Dublin's bench, Dublin's know-how, Dublin's class just showed.
Paddy, I have a very straightforward question for you.
Oh.
Would that Monaghan performance yesterday have been enough to beat the Dublin side of 2021 in the All-Ireland semi-final?
Oh, good question, T.
The game that
Possibly.
Mayo won.
The game that Mayo won, yeah.
Possibly. I think Dublin this season, I think they're a better team than they were in 2021. You look at the criticism of Dublin after that game, and then last year's loss to Kerry as well. They felt that there was that lack of depth. They weren't getting that impact off the bench. We spoke at length about this over numerous episodes of this podcast, and I think there is an impact off the bench now. That's the beauty of having McCaffrey back. The big call is the Kieran Kilkenny situation. If you're, I think from Dublin, he has to start the All-Ireland final.
He's not himself though, is he? There's something. Is it?
I don't know. If put it this way, would Kerry want him starting or not starting?
Not starting.
Jack O'Connor. Jack O'Connor does not want him starting. And look, there was Bugler's injuries kind of opened up a slot there. Obviously,
any word? Is that?
I don't know, because if you look at how teams are getting at Kerry with that really direct run, and we've seen Paul Cassidy, we spoke about this last week in advance of the game, saying we needed him on the front foot to try and challenge that. He's kicked 2 points in the first half. Bugler brings that pace and directness from the half forward line. Pascal had a bit of an off day on Saturday evening. That can happen, but his style of play, his attributes, you feel would cause Kerry trouble. Like there's 100%. No, if you're Jack O'Connor and you're looking going, what was causing us issues yesterday in that first half? It was Derry's running power. You look at the game against Mayo 2 months ago in Fitzgerald Stadium, they were overwhelmed with runners. And if you're Dublin, you're thinking, I think Dublin will kick the ball a lot more. It won't be, I think Derry were just totally running the ball, but there is an avenue there where you feel Kerry are under pressure. And the likes of Pascal, and if Bugler's available, McCaffrey, I think we've said this, more than likely he is going to be off the bench. And he's a brilliant player to have. If there's one type of player you want off the bench, it's him coming on with 25 or 30 minutes to go. But Kilkenny, I would imagine, surely he'll start. Scully
won't start. I felt sorry for Scully the last day when he got the black. He got the black, right? Which got the black, which was probably a sign of maybe your concentration is off in a way or something. There's something maybe you can read into the black card. You kind of stick out your hand lazily. You go, oh. It's the ultimate punishment then. Black card, you're gone for 10 minutes. Team down to 14. But they took him off then. He comes back on for about 30 seconds. And then they take him off. It was like, I'm going to put you on here to bring you back off again. I almost thought it was like a statement or something by Dizzy. Yeah. Do you reckon there was any point in that, Paddy? That's the way
it was an odd one. It was an odd one to just to come back on and then come back off and be frustrated. But that Dublin were just a little bit off all over the pitch in that first half. Yeah. There was just a little bit of sloppiness. And you know what, Tommy, maybe, and I mentioned this last week on the pod, I was interested to see how Dublin and Kerry would perform in these games when they both had their standout performances of the season in their quarterfinals. And from being experience of playing for Dublin against Mayo, that is a game which you need no motivation from. You are up because you don't really like Mayo. That's the reality. There's an intensity in your play. You are ready to, you have energy. It's all action. And the exact same with Kerry against Tyrone. Kerry don't like Tyrone. You could see it in the first 2 minutes of that match. There's a turnover and they're in their faces. So it was easy for Kerry and Dublin to be really up for those quarter-final performances. They were being written off, they were being questioned, and they're playing their biggest rivals, and they both had statement wins. Flipped that 2 weeks later, they're going into semi-finals where they're both red-hot favourites. And I think there's inevitably going to be a little bit of a drop-off. And the big thing is that Monaghan and Derry came to play as well. So that was, you got the sense of that. And I suppose the other thing for Dublin as well is the conditions were really difficult, which is, we mentioned at the start of this pod, Croke Park is hard when it's monsoon weather, it's slippy. If your skill set is just a little bit off or you're not as focused as you should be, you can get dragged into something, and Monaghan were absolutely there to take advantage of it. So I think that the Scully thing was merely epitomised Dublin just being a little bit off from where they needed to be, and Monaghan were taking full advantage.
You very adequately avoided answering my question.
Go on. What?
Would Monaghan's performance yesterday have been enough to beat the Dublin side?
I didn't know. I said that. I said it's a hard one to call, but
I said I'm not answering that question, Tommy.
Hypothetical. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, Monaghan would have beaten them in 2021.
The point I'm getting at is that's when we saw Cluxton to McCaffrey for that kick out straight after McManus's equaliser. Kilkenny slips it to Fenton, he kicks that point. Who is calling the press? It's Mannion with Con who forces Begin into that hand pass.
And all you shams questioning why the lads came back. And it's Jimmy, I want to pull up the tweet, up this week, Tom.
Hang on.
Jimmy calling it desperation that the Dubs are going back to Cluxton. Cluxton hasn't conceded a goal in the championship for about 18 years at this stage.
There hasn't been a shot on him
yet. This is that defence that Jimmy keeps giving out about the Dublin full back line. And there's another clean sheet. Unbelievable players make unbelievable plays. So having Cluxton and McCaffrey and Mannion back there, it's massive. And the big thing for Dublin, and I backed them all year to win this year's All-Ireland, and I'm backing them for the final as well, even though it's going to be down the line. Look at who is standing out for this Dublin team. It's McCarthy, it's Fitzsimons, even in his battle with McManus. It's the experienced players. And you just get the sense with Dublin, they kind of know there's not much more of this left, and there's just a sense that this might be it, and we don't know. And I don't know inside track. I don't talk to the boys in the middle of the championship. That's fine, but you just get a sense that they understand where they're at as a team and in their careers, and those boys are making massive plays. And it was the same the other night. Look who was big down the stretch, and it was those experienced guys. 100%. And you're asking, you know, did Dublin plan this? The 64th or 65th minute they do? Those guys just know when it's happening. And to be fair, on the same side with Kerry, when Kerry were in the shit against Derry, it was the big guys that were doing the business. And Shawnee, you said it, Jimmy, Sean O'Shea's play, making big plays at big times. That's what unbelievable players do. That's what it is. That's what it is. And that's what the beauty of having Cluxton back, McCaffrey, Mannion, these guys. And that's why I think, and I know this, but that's why Kilkenny is a massive player for Dublin. Get that guy on the pitch. Like I said, put yourself in O'Connor's shoes. They don't want to see Kieran Kilkenny out there. No, I do.
Especially last year, he was tormentor in chief. Like,
exceptional second half.
Jack O'Connor went onto the field and nearly gave him a hug. Like,
I thought he was trying to sign him. Yeah,
I can get you a job in the bank there.
There's a rental car in a field.
But do you know who I want to call out from Dublin point of view? And two massive plays in the game. The first one.
So just before you got to do anything with Cluxton there now. You're happy to stand by it with desperation to bring Cluxton back. That's just a
well, he almost dropped the ball into the goal. Hang on,
I am just palming around the corner. Just palming around.
Cluxton, best goalkeeper of all time.
Thank you.
They had two goalies. I thought it was like, no, credit's due, unbelievable, and he's had an unbelievable year. It was the right decision.
Thank you.
In hindsight, so one game.
Anyway, what was the point you were making, Jimmy? Go on.
The point I was making was McAnespi's goal chance. Fitzsimon's defending for that was unbelievable, because McAnesby has it. He's kind of hopping, soloing. He wants to dish it to his right to O'Hanlon. That's his first choice. But Fitzsimons gives enough marking to O'Hanlon to make McAnesby go on his own. And by the time McAnesby decides to go on his own, Fitzsimons is on his boot blocking it. I just thought it was phenomenal defending. Just make him go himself and then block him was outstanding. And then for his intervention on McManus, for when McManus kind of ushers him out the way, and Fitzsimons is the wrong side, gets back and blocks him down. That was great defending as well. I just thought they were two big moments.
Did I miss you say that he blocked Bannigan as well for point?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
full length block for that as well. Fitzsimons had an awesome first half, in particular, Paddy, in that battle with McManus. He's probably going to be marking Clifford in the All-Ireland final.
Yeah, I would imagine. Like he's still Dublin's main man. And that's the reality of it. He was exceptional the other night. Again, brilliant battle with McManus. I still think McAnesby should pass that. And again, you're looking at the replay, he should. You're still thinking, slip that. Even that. But you're right, Fitzy just makes him make a decision. And it's nearly the same we were talking about with Shane Ryan and McKinless earlier. Yeah. He's just waiting. That's not by chance what's happened there. He's waiting for it. And then you're ready to pounce. And Fitzy, look, he's been doing it for how long? Fitzy was marking the Gooch in 2011. And that first All-Ireland win. What an unbelievable, career and player, and then talk about leaders in the dressing room, and just he's massive. And yeah, you're looking at it. It probably will be. And there's a case we were actually chatting about this yesterday in Croke Park. Like, are you nearly better off just putting nearly your worst marker on Clifford, and just nearly writing it out? And he's as close to unstoppable as I've seen in terms of scoring, but Fitzy will be, I would imagine, would be tasked with picking up Clifford, but you're going to need a dig out from ball going in, try and cut that off, try and stop him getting kick passes, try and get bodies around him. That's the challenge Dublin are going to face, but it's just back to that point again of who were the big players at the big moments for Dublin on Saturday night. Even when they weren't going well, and they weren't, it was those guys. And
it was Fenton. I thought Fenton.
Fenton, his last two games, I thought he's really gone up a notch, getting back to the Rolls Royce midfielder that he is, and that's a massive, massive area. And we'll get into this when we're previewing the game next week. But Fenton and McCarthy are playing some serious stuff, and McCarthy's nearly on for Player of the Year at this stage, the way he's going. If he's a big final, and that's a platform for Dublin, one, for them to attack. and try and get kickouts. Now, Shane Ryan has always been excellent against Dublin on kickouts. To be fair to him, he is. We've gone after him and he's got them off. He's been brilliant before, but that's an area Dublin are going to try and target. And not only can it get Dublin on the front foot, if they win that middle third, it stops some of the ball going into Clifford, which is going to be... You can oversimplify this game, but if Clifford is kept away from the ball for as long as possible, that could be the win in the game for Dublin there. But
the game is going to be wide open as well. Like, it's going to be so different to... Like, we haven't seen a game like this all year. It's going to be...
Isn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah.
It's going to be less tactical. It'll actually just be like the semi-final last year. Both teams are going to go for it. Like, Dublin will fancy themselves to beat Kerry, and Kerry will fancy themselves to beat Dublin. There's going to be no... Both teams will play on the front foot. And there's those incredible matchups. The teams know each other so well as well. But no more so, you could say this for any game, but if Dublin are going to win this thing, it'll be on the back of Cluxton, Fitzsimons, McCarthy, Fenton, and I think Kilkenny and Con. Those guys, the real leaders, you need them in the biggest games, and this is as big as it gets. And you've seen, I'm more confident with the form they've shown, even though they weren't great in loads of different stages throughout the season, but the way they're winning the games and the plays they're making just shows the boys know exactly where they're at with this. And you get the sense this might be the last time we're seeing a few of these guys. So that brings the pressure with things as well, but Jesus Christ, they're delivering in big moments for Dublin over the last couple of weekends.
I've heard it be said that there's echoes of the Chicago's Bulls season in 97-98 and the Last Dance about this Dublin collection of players coming back. There's one problem though. Michael Jordan plays as the opposition.
Oh, how long did it take you to tee this one up to?
I see he was writing around there for the last 10 minutes. Plus Kerry won it last year, so...
Yeah.
So
they can't be going... The Bulls are going for 3 in a row.
But how big a win, and we said this at the time last year, was that for those Kerry guys to actually win a game over Dublin? Because it's been 10 years that they had won. And for them to win it, and you see the reaction after the semi-final, it was like a weight off their shoulders as well. So it gives Kerry that belief going in. And that's the point of making it. It's not as Kerry won't fear this challenge. Obviously not. They're the All-Ireland champions. But the fact that they've beaten this Dublin team as well, that's there's a belief inside you now that they can do it. But it's the exact same on the Dublin side. And that defeat for Dublin against Kerry last year, and the hurt from that, and losing to Mayo the previous year as well.
I think the Dubs know.
This is magic.
The Dubs know that they're way better. The Dubs know that wasn't their full hand last year. That's the thing. But you can also say that Kerry could have blown them away in the first half last year.
And they were in the first half. Like Sean O'Shea misses the penalty, and it was like we were watching it together, and I was having a stroke. I was thinking this is gonna be bad stuff.
But there was no Cluxton. There was no Con. There was no Mannion. There was no McCaffrey.
That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying.
Someone else missing as well. Yeah.
But it's
Dubs
also...
to lose, lads. Dubs to lose.
Look at
this pod
is started already.
Warfare in this pod over the next 2 weeks. Okay, I have a couple of things I want to get into before we get to the real deal, which is Meath's Tailteann Cup success this week.
Oh, of course.
We did a fairly strong segment there on the Kerry forwards, apart from David Clifford, who didn't stand up in that first half. In a way, there was a bit of back and forth there. On the Dubs, Cormac Costello carried the torch in that first half. Con comes into it in the second half. Collie Basquel doesn't score and gets taken off. Scully is taken off. Kilkenny comes in. Paddy Small kicks a great point and probably does a lot of work. Mannion kicks that brilliant free. But are the Dubs forward line clicking?
No, they haven't been at their best. They haven't been. That's obvious. But I think that's the beauty of what's happened. There's a positive way you can spin this as well. That Basquel, who was the match winner really against Mayo, has an off day, but it's Costello who stands up and delivers a masterful performance to get man of the match. And this is if you're Desi Farrell, you were looking at this in a positive way. That I said this before, that the issue that Dublin had, if it's Con and Kilkenny, we need them to do it, and everyone else was nearly deferential towards them. Whereas now other guys are taking ownership of this thing, and I think that's a really good thing. Would you rather have a Clifford who's a 10 out of 10 every single week? Yeah, every team in the country like that. But you get the sense. I think Con will have a massive final. I think he's been going okay. He's been having big moments in games.
He's having a good year, lads.
No, and he is, Tommy. And this is the point. It's like, because his standards are so high, you're thinking, And John Malloy was asking me this yesterday as well. We're waiting for Con. I was going, hold on, Con is playing pretty well, to be fair to him. He probably hasn't reached the absolute pinnacle of his form, but he's showing moments and he's making plays at big times that it's there. He's right on the cusp of it. I think Mannion over the last couple of weekends has had big moments as well. He was probably struggling a little bit earlier on in the championship as he wasn't in the starting team. I think Pascal's skill set is good against the way Kerry are going to set up, and then Costello's couldn't be more confident after getting man of the match in the semi-final. Then you have the option of going, do we play Kilkenny or not? Bugler, I think, is we don't know. I mean, the reality is we're not going to know the starting line until 15 minutes before the throw-in. Like the team Dublin name, the team Kerry name, it's got to change. So, but there's more variety in the attack, but they haven't really. There's a couple of minutes, in games. We've seen the second half against Mayo, the final 10 against Monaghan, where it is clicking. But if there's a game, and it's in 2 weeks' time, where they click for a half and you get 30 minutes of that, or for the whole thing, I think that is a massive plus for Dublin. It's just bubbling under the surface, but now's the time to do it. And that's generally when the biggest players come out of it, is on the biggest stage. And we've seen it with Shane Walsh in last year's All-Ireland final. We're waiting for him. And there's a man who delivered performance for the ages in the final. As a Dublin fan, Jesus, it'd be magic to see Con or Kilkenny or someone do that in the final. And that could be the winning and losing of it as well. But I think Desi Farrell will look at this in a positive light, that the burden is being shared around the team, and if one guy is off, well, another guy shows ownership and takes up, and it's not just the traditional guys doing it, it's other guys coming in and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try and win us this game.
James, what's your reading of the Dublin forwards?
Well,
are you worried?
There's two ways of reading. Worried as a Kerry supporter,
like in terms of what you've seen over the last couple of weeks.
Well, there's two ways of reading. You can read them from the Dublin forwards from the Monaghan game, or you could read them as proposed opponents for Kerry. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be two completely different scenarios, two completely different games, two different ways of playing football. I would like to see, from a Kerry point of view, Pascal not play. I think that he is very, very dangerous. I think he had a bad day against Monaghan because the systems just didn't kind of suit him necessarily, got dragged back the field. But if you have to mark Con and Costello first, and you arguably have your third best cornerback marking wise on Pascal, I think Pascal can cause you a lot of damage. Yeah. Last year when Kerry played Dublin, Rock started, and Rock didn't probably have the legs from the start of the game. They didn't have that many options. And then when Paddy Small came on, he did a bit of damage. But Pascal, with those legs from the start, he'll have a big day against Kerry if they start him.
Are you thinking that Paul Murphy ends up on Pascal, or is Graham O'Sullivan more of a... Like, we'll do matchups next week.
I don't know. No, Paul wouldn't go full backline. Paul would be half backline only. So it would be a full backline player to pick him up, but he would have to be on his game, because Pascal can turn on a sixpence and put you on
Let's save our matchups for next week. Yeah.
But then from the half forward, and I, again, as a Kerry point of view, I didn't think that Kilkenny looked 100% fit again the last day. For some reason, I don't know what it is. For someone who's usually so kind of springy across the ground, he just looks to be... it's like he's carrying a bit of a knock or something. I don't know what it is, but hopefully he's okay for the final. And if he is, I mean, he has to start. He's Dublin's go-to man. Where would you play him? 10? You'd still leave Bugler 11, and you'd be looking at filling in the 12 slot. Again, I from my point of view, if I was Dublin manager, I'd be putting as many scores on the field as possible, because I need marking. Do you know? And eventually you're going to run out of markers. There's going to be scores left on the field.
And what if you were the Kerry manager?
I think Kerry will do the same. These two teams play the same way, and that's the thing. They both fancy it. They both fancy it. Like, Dublin are going to go after this game. That's the way that we are. That's the way we play. We'll back ourselves to beat anyone. And but Kerry are the exact same.
I think Jack Hart, Adrian Spillane.
Well, he probably will, because he started them all along. And as well, if you're Stephen O'Brien, you've just played off the bench a stormer. You're confident in that role. You know you can come on and do that role again for half an hour or a full half. Whereas if you put him into a starting role, is he kind of worried, do I have enough from the start? Have I enough done? From a management point of view, I was shocked that Jack didn't start Stephen O'Brien against Louth, because you had a chance.
That type of challenge.
Get an hour into his legs. Give him the confidence, I can do an hour. Whereas now, he hasn't played an hour. He's only played a half. For the final, you kind of stick with what you got.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to get stuck into these matchups next week. They're going to be fascinating. But just to mention the Dublin bench, Kilkenny on in 28 minutes, McCaffrey in 43, and he had a massive influence. Lorcan O'Dell got on quite a bit of ball in the last few minutes. Dean Rock scores his 1-1, and Tom Lahiff came in as well. For Kerry, Stephen O'Brien, game changer when he came in. Tony Brosnan, Brino Bjorkliak, Micheál Burns, and Rory Murphy. Rory Murphy got on quite a bit of ball, actually. Did well in the last couple of minutes, got in 2 or 3 possessions. Burns put that ball wide. Tony Brosnan dropped that ball short, hit the post, kicked it wide, and O'Bjorkliak got on a bit of ball as well. Good news for Kerry fans. Jack O'Connor said that Killian Spillane will be back in time for the final. He's only had 3 football sessions under his belt, and he plans to get another 4 into him before July 30th. So you can imagine that Stephen Cluxon is going to be meeting the man, the last score goal against him in Championship football.
If you were Tony Brosnan there, or another Kerry forward, you have to train so well over the next couple of nights. You have to keep Killian out of that panel. Like, Killian's going to be coming, and he's going to be thinking, I have a great record against him. Put me on the panel.
He'll
so
get game time.
Be hard to keep him out.
Last question on Monaghan and Derry.
Sorry,
Paddy, because I want to just wrap this up and then move on to Meath, because I'm going to have to let you get away.
Of course.
I'm going to have to let you get away, and I'm going to have to get the podcast up so people can listen before it's too late tonight. So, last question on Derry and Monaghan. They deserve all their credit for this year. Absolutely exceptional. For next year and their 2024s, was there a fatal flaw in their game plan, in the sense that Monaghan only take 1 shot between the 68th minute when McManus scores and the 77th minute when the game is over, and that's Jack McCarron's point in the 65th minute. Derry only have 1 shot at the posts. That drops short between McGuigan's free in the 68th minute and McGuigan's final free in the 79th minute. That's 20 minutes without scoring. Monaghan went 17 minutes without a shot. 1 shot. Like, are they only set up to play 60 minutes and it's a 75-minute game?
Look, I think it's a little bit harsh, but like we Monaghan score 14 points. Derry get 150. Derry get 115, which is actually slightly higher than I thought they would get. I think Derry just run out of gas. They literally could just see that their style of play, they were playing and running the ball, just so intense. That's very difficult to do for 80 minutes. And you just got the sense they look like they were running on fumes. Can they find a way to get up the pitch a bit quicker in terms of maybe kick passing, or just try and manage that better? Because that style of play is unbelievably effective, but it's so difficult to do for the entire game against the top teams. And for Monaghan as well, you always got the sense, we said this, and I don't like beating the drum about it because they've done some incredible things. They're always so difficult to play against, but their scoring power is that's their average score. I didn't expect them to score 117 or 118 to win this game. I just don't think they had it in them. And the choice of Vinnie Corey, to be fair, he's played McManus and McCarron together once against Derry, and they were completely targeted and overrun. So we had a choice to play either or. And also, Tommy, like the reality, like Dublin and Kerry for me are the best 2 teams in the country. You know, and they have been. They're exceptional teams, and when they turn it on at those championship minutes coming down the stretch, very few teams can live with it. But for Monaghan, if you're looking at their season, we were saying from week 1 back in January, expecting to be relegated from Division 1. Vinnie Corey was very late into the job. There didn't seem to be much enthusiasm to take that role. And what they've done in terms of staying in Division 1, like they got hammered by Derry in the Ulster Championship as well, and turned around and got all the way to an All-Ireland semi-final and an incredible account of themselves. So again, this kind of sounds bloody condescending. Like, they can look back and review the season, both Monaghan and Derry, and say, do you know what? There's positives outweigh the negatives by far, far more. And they've just come up against two of the biggest teams, 2 of the best teams over the last decade. And sometimes it's just you have to hold your hands up. Do you know what I mean? Monaghan don't get shots off because they didn't have the ball, because Dublin go and gangbusters on Began's kickouts. That can happen. And the same for Kerry. Kerry get a sniff of it, and that impact off the bench, which probably Derry didn't really have, if we're being totally honest. And that's the win and lose of the game. But in terms of platforms for both of those teams going into, like, Derry are into Division 1, Monaghan are still in Division 1, and they've younger players coming through from their underage systems as well. So it won't feel like that today for both of those teams, for Vinnie Corey and Kieran Meena and the Derry and Monaghan players, but there are still serious platforms for both of those counties to have good seasons next year as well.
I think from a Derry point of view, they can approach the season so differently next year. Like this year, they played their strongest possible team in the league. Every game, every chance they had, they played their best team. And then they didn't really develop too many. I know they Lachlan Murray and these fellas who had great years, but they probably need to add 2 or 3 more to the panel. And the league's not going to be the be-all and end-all next year. Come middle of the table. Do your rest, your proper rest. Is the Ulster Championship the be-all and end-all after winning 2 in a row? Maybe not. Maybe they can change their focus. They know now they have the tools maybe for the bigger prize. They can concentrate on that. So they can definitely change their perspective a bit. I'd have big hopes for Derry. If they go at a proper winter and blood a few players next year, they're going to be very, very dangerous again. And they'll take huge confidence from an unbelievable performance this weekend.
100%, yeah. Their 2024 would be very exciting.
They're still the top team in Ulster. I think that's clear. You look at Tyrone's regression, look at Armagh, how their season has panned out, and Donegal struggles, and Monaghan, to be fair, possibly maybe the next best team there, but Derry I still feel are the top dogs in Ulster. They've cemented themselves a platform there, and they're still progression. And their defeat to Galway last year, I thought there was a lot more question marks over them at that stage than there was losing this year's semi-final to Kerry.
Yeah. Okay. Right. On to the real.
Here we go.
Colin O'Rourke, a man who's won 2 All-Irelands with Meath, said afterwards, and if you saw the smile on his face, you'd believe him. As satisfying as anything I've ever been involved with. Ooh. So Meath took this seriously, and you could see it when Donald Keoghan, a man who's played over 150 times for Meath, through a difficult period when they've taken a lot of patience, lifted the cup. There was a real pride and joy in the county. It's been a long time coming to win something there. Can this be a springboard for future success, James, looking at that young Meath team? Did you feel like are they very, very, very far away, or are they simply just the 16th best team in the country now?
I don't know. I mean, it's gonna take. He's still on a building process, but I definitely think that what they have done has been phenomenal, because they were judged as, they were kind of being criticised as if they were almost a Division 1 team this year. Do you know, like they were being really examined. What are these about this year? And they were taking some criticism. So to blood a young team through criticism is so hard. I mean, so mentally draining for everyone involved. So for them to come out and deliver a couple of very good displays, not just the final, a couple of very good displays with that young team after taking a bit of a pasting around the county and in the media all year, I think is an unbelievable result for them. And like they can only grow. And I always say that team holiday, get that young group in. Get that young group in and get them tighter. Get them believing that they're on this journey. Because they are. They can be now. They can take Meath football back up to the top if they want to. But they need to get tight. They need to kind of block out all the noise, get on that holiday, have a good time, and decide we're going back to work again in the winter. And if they do...
O'Rourke will be on to you for all the spots in Vegas, will he?
Cancun is
the open goal. Yeah.
I don't think they should go to Vegas. They'd be relegated straight to 4.
Those boys will enjoy that holiday. Just to put it into context, O'Rourke used 42 players in 2023. Just 5 players started O'Rourke's first win against Cork and the Tailteann Cup Final. And just 4 players started the Tailteann Cup Final and Andy McEntee's last game in charge against Clare last summer. Cathal Hickey, Donald Keoghan and Matthew Costello are the players that started all 3 of those games. There was a championship rookie on every line of the field for Meath, and Sean Brennan in goals, Adam O'Neill in full back, Sean Coffey, Conor Gray in midfield, Kieran Caulfield at half forward, and Aaron Lynch in the full forward line. James, last week when Andy McEntee picked out his player to watch from Meath, I saw one of your eyebrows go up and the other eyebrow go down when he mentioned Conor Gray. Compared him to John McDermott, and I get the sense that, like most people, because Meath are playing in the secondary competition, you wouldn't have seen much of a 19-year-old 6'6" midfielder from Meath. What did you make of him on Saturday?
I thought he was outstanding. Honestly, no, I thought he was brilliant. And he took so much pressure off Meath, because when Down decided to push up, we'll go after this, they just went long to him, and he was an animal in the air. And like, he took on the leadership. For a young fella to take on that burden, take on that leadership, catch those big balls in the air, slip them off, always do the right thing. I must say, no, I thought he was a brilliant player. And he is going to be around for a long time. And with that physicality, And that obvious those leadership traits to stand up late in the game, I'd have high hopes for him.
It was how well he used the ball as well. And another player that was mentioned, Paddy, was Jack Flynn. And I will go so far as to say that the last time we saw a shooting exhibition like that in Croke Park was another Flynn back in 2014 in the first half against Donegal. Jack Flynn shot the lights out in those last 20 minutes of 4 brilliant scores from play.
Some boomers, to be fair to him. But it was an exceptional performance. And look, I was leaning towards Down to win this game.
They were lucky. No, I'll be honest. Meath were lucky. Like down and off it in ways.
Down were great. Like, I don't know, like Down were 4 points to 1 up after about 15 minutes or so, and you got the sense, okay, this is kind of going to script. Meath get a pretty fortuitous goal, but then second half, the stand-up, and it's like Jack O'Connor coming off the bench, Jack Flynn, they're unbelievable scores. I've never seen a man kick the ball as high. He just tip it over the black spot, but they were brilliant scores. And I couldn't get away from the fact, O'Rourke's interview afterwards, he literally described the Tailteann Cup. Because we wouldn't have been ready as a team to play this competition or play in the Sam Maguire 2 months ago. But this is the whole point and the beauty of the Tailteann Cup. And some counties still look down their nose at it. And there's still kind of people rolling their eyes going, that's sort of secondary competition. But Meath, they've got absolute, look at the benefits they got for those young players. Colin and his point, they'd be ready to play in the Sam Maguire now if it was on now. And those 2 months of training and games and a bit of confidence. And we were saying, would Meath have been better this year? I mean, look, you didn't know the answer. If they beat Offaly and they get into the Sam Maguire and they get a bit of a hiding, that is a no chance. If they get a bit of a hiding in that, what does that really do for them? We've seen Westmeath, last year's winners, a bit disappointed in their National League campaign, but they have a brilliant championship and they're arguably one of the most unlucky teams not to come out of the group stages. But you see there was a real kick on from them. And that's what Colin O'Rourke and Meath are trying to do. That's why I don't think he's taking the mick when he says that how important a win that was for him and the satisfaction he gets with brilliant photo of himself and Sean Boylan. See it after. Even as a dub, I was like, that's a bit of magic. But for Meath, for those young guys to come through, and like you say, the change in the team, that's what needed to happen in Meath. That the whole point of O'Rourke being hired was to galvanise, to bring through players, to get a bit of energy and feel good factor back in the county, because it was not in a good place. There was a negativity around Meath and a bit of, Andy McKaigue said it last week, there was kind of nearly infighting, which doesn't help, but that win at the weekend and the manner of it, the style of play, which is admirable, but at times you could say, oh, maybe that's a little bit naive, but the scores they were kicking, the younger players taking leadership of it, there's a foundation. And I agree with Jimmy that this is, from me, where Meath were a couple of months ago, where they're teetering on the edge of being relegated from Division 2, losing the Offaly in the Leinster Championship, we're thinking this could go really, really wrong. But a credit to O'Rourke and the management team, a credit to those players, they've gone and done it. And the big thing for them is now, can they kick on? Look, they're not really at the level, and that's the reality of it, in terms of, could they win the Leinster Championship? No, Dublin are their biggest rivals in the All-Ireland final, but in terms of, they can look at Division 2 and say, okay, can we kick on from this? They're in the Sam Maguire. They are now, look at the trajectory they're on to. It's a hell of a lot better than where it was a couple of months ago. And that's the beauty of the Tailteann Cup for teams that go after it, and the reward that Colin O'Rourke and those Meath players get. I'm actually very happy that they won, because I think it's brilliant for Leinster to have a team progressing. And Meath
two Tailteann Cup winners now in Leinster.
Nail it every year.
Like, let's linger on Sean Boylan for 1 second. I think Sean Boylan is 80 this year. The first trophy that he had his hands on for Meath was the 1984 Centenary Cup. That's 40 years ago next year. The influence that man has had on football, and he's still doing it in the county. Like, what an absolute! Well, just a magician, like, unbelievable. And actually, there was a lovely photo of himself and Conor Laverty after the game as well. He worked quite closely with Laverty in his first year as a young manager, as a down under 21 boss too. So, like Sean Boylan, his influence stretches far, and we might talk about that downside in a minute too. I think it was actually Down's worst performance of the year. I actually think they'd be kicking themselves looking back. Conor Laverty used, I think, 48 players this year. Down in the last 2 seasons have used 69 footballers. Like, they are in a period of transition, but I do think there's green shoots there this year. And obviously, I think I called it early in the year that they'd beat Donegal in Ulster. I think they could get a bounce out of this as well.
They will.
I think they will. Yeah, they will.
They'll get a bounce. But for me, to go up to Croke Park and leave with a trophy is so good for your mentality. It's like you're part of something huge. Like they'll be walking around town, they'll just be feeling $1 million for a while, and that's so important in your development. But I want to have a shout out for, obviously, Flynn's points were exceptional, and the fact he celebrated every single one of them. His I'd say he was his bicep was cramping all night. He was like, "Yes, come on."
Well earned.
Yeah, Costello as well swung over a couple of very important points at the end. Yeah.
Jack O'Connor,
unbelievable spinners. The first point he got was top
spectacular.
Second one was a bit more not fortuitous, but it was kind of, the first one was just pure skill out the gate. It was just class. And then obviously the goal, but like they had some serious performers.
He could have hand passed that ball over the bar at the end, James.
He could have, and then we'd be slating the back off him here.
Yeah,
because
well,
he had a chance to score a goal in Croke Park in the final, bang it into the back of the net. Come on.
The thing about Jack Connor, and I've watched that game back, I still don't know whether it was an unbelievable defensive setup from Meath, the amount of turnovers they got, or whether it was just more power, or whether Meath have completely changed their defensive structure. I couldn't figure that out yet. But one call they made was they had been starting Jack O'Connor. They decided they wanted him to come on as a finisher. And that is a call that paid absolute dividends. They dropped him before the game, brought him on with 25 minutes to go, and himself and Flynn kicked them over the line. So that was massive for Meath. And there's a homecoming actually in Park Tailteann tonight.
Are you hosting? Are you not involved?
No, you'll do MC for that, no? Oh, did you burn a few bridges?
No, I haven't burned any bridges. I haven't burned any bridges. I just haven't really got the call up. Haven't got the call up yet for any big gigs off the back of the football pod. So
me and Jimmy were asked to do it.
I know you and Jimmy been asked.
We're heading up to do a couple things.
We'll be in Navan Town tomorrow now, strutting our stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to Cancun with the boys.
We love the Tailteann Cup. That's why we big it up all the time. We're on the team holiday.
We should.
Am I allowed to say
media pass?
Am I allowed to say the Tailteann Cup Final on Saturday and Derry Kerry on Sunday felt like two different sports? Like it is like the tiers are there, they exist, and I think we've seen why the Tailteann Cup is in existence. It's needed 100%.
It is. You have to bridge the gap some way. I agree. There was probably a difference in standard and difference in intensity because of probably a lot of experience as well. The Kerry players and Derry players know how to bring that intensity to a big game, whereas the Meath and the Downs are learning that with new players. So it's not. It doesn't have to be that far away for either team if they go at it properly.
Okay, that's an exciting few months ahead. Lads, I think that's it for this week's episode of Football Pod. I think it could end up being one of our longest of the year so far. We've got so much to talk about. I'm already looking forward to next week's pod. We've got our roadshow in Croke Park on the 27th, 3 days before the All-Ireland final as well. So it's exciting times. Anything else that you want to get into? Or do we miss anything? Or is that us?
It's a lot to get through this week, but it was another good weekend. But lads, this is going to be a good crack these next 2 weeks.
This is big time.
This is showbiz.
We'd be put out for pasture if it was Derry and Monaghan in the final.
Are you ditched? I was getting ready for the roadshow.
Jeez, cancelled the roadshow, but and I was looking ropey at times, but now I'm looking forward to our special guests, whoever we get to join us. That should be.
Yeah, I hope you do well there now, Tom.
Don't duff that now, T. We want good lads.
I've never let you down before, lads. I've never let you down.
Some good lads. True. And I need a dub. I need some sort of dub with me after the pace that I was getting down in Killarney with Marco Fiala.
All right. Well, if we go for a double dub, we might have to double up with the Kerry lads as well. So we'll see what happens.
You can bring in a Kerry fella, but once I have a good dub beside me, we're on the neutral venue in Croker as well, so that'll be good.
Okay. All right.
Neutral venue, my own. Neutral venue, but we're giving the dub 70,000 tickets and Kerry 8,000.
Do I get to use my own dressing room? Do I get to use my own dressing room?
Paddy gets his own dressing room, yeah. And
I actually got 2 tickets for this roadshow as well.
Would he come?
What a ref!
Would he come?
Yeah, no, I was chatting to him there this morning, yeah.
I hope he gets it. Because it'll be a great game.
I've 2 for Herson as well, just in case.
Okay. James, Paddy, thanks a million.
Thanks, Tommy.
To everybody listening at home, thanks for tuning in.
Boys.
Yeah. So we'll leave it there, and we will catch up later in the week. See you, boys.
We'll leave it there, so.
The Royals are back.